Welcome to United Airlines training module of 2019. First off, congratulations to making it to the team. This is a great company and we are so glad to have you all join the family. Excuse me as I have my notes with me just to make sure that I touch on everything. I do not want to miss anything important because we want to make this as efficient as possible. We don't want it to be too long, but definitely thorough. So I just want to make sure that I hit all the points for you guys. So of course, the purpose of this video is to guide you all in basically just trying to detain situations where it could get out of hand, especially on social media, because unfortunately, brand image can get pretty bad when certain things get put on social media, whether it's something that we did or if other people are talking about the company or talking about a conflict that happened. We have to know how to control the narrative and make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. As you all probably know, United Airlines was established in 1926 and is headquartered in Chicago, Illinois. We are a major airline with over 86,000 employees. That being said, we have a reputation to maintain. Nobody is perfect, but we need to be close to it when it comes to our image. Situation where our company, United Airlines, faced a huge PR crisis, which could have been avoided for many reasons. So for one, it is a United Airlines protocol to be able to practice voluntary and involuntary deboarding. If no one volunteers to leave a flight, if it's overbooked, we get to choose who leaves. And this is something that needs to be looked into as well, because there is a debate on whether that matter is ethical or unethical. And that's just a whole nother topic that we also definitely need to touch on at another point. Either way, once one of our passengers on flight 3411, David Dow, was asked to leave and he refused, he got removed and things got physical, and unfortunately, it got taken to social media. People recorded it and they put it on social media. And it was a very unfortunate situation that David Dow had to get hurt. He hit his head on an armrest, and from the looks of it, people thought that it was the security's fault. Some argued that it was because he was moving too much. But either way, one of our customers are hurt on our flight by people that they're supposed to trust. So what are the staff who were on the plane definitely should have just notified the higher ups of what's happening. And what that means is call headquarters. If you or any of your teammates are on the flight and something like this happens, it's very important that you let us know, because then we're quicker on our feet. We know what's happening, because of course you can't fix anything if you don't know what's going on. And there's nothing worse than a company not knowing about their own company, because essentially bad consequences come from ignorance. And it's truth. It's the truth. It's unfortunately sometimes there's situations within a company where some people just really don't know what's happening, and it could be like even the CEO has no idea what's going on, and it's bad consequences come from ignorance, and that's exactly what happened. Bad consequences came from people not knowing, and it's something that is so small but so big. Something that small that should be understood was not. Therefore, things got out of hand. Once the video of David Dow went to social media, many people took this to Twitter and were asking so many questions, wanting to know what was going on, questioning United Airlines, just trying to figure out what really took place, because all people see is this video of a man getting dragged out of a plane with no context. No context. It was really just a recipe for failure. So this getting put on social media already opened the door for a PR crisis, and the goal is to close the door back, not jump out of it. There are ways to make statements without saying anything that kind of shows that you don't know what's going on. And what I mean by that is you can say a lot without saying a lot. You can acknowledge that the matter is going to be handled, but you don't have to directly go into any like serious details right away, because then right there you're not being honest, and that's just also another negative that could taint our image if we're just seen as liars to our consumers. And that's not. PRSA Code of Ethics touches on being timely with statements and also being truthful. And it is true that at the time, United Airlines did not know the complete details because they weren't quick to it like social media was. So essentially, the outside of the company does not need to know that we don't know. That's kind of the trick there. They don't have to know that we don't know. And in this situation, what they could have done, as in the previous people that were involved on this flight, what they could have done here is just informed the consumers that they're going to do what they can to fix the situation, and that they're going to look into it, and that they are aware that there is a conflict taking place and that this is not being ignored. That right there can kind of just mend the trust back, instead of just ignoring it or just making many mistakes. Something like that was pretty simple, and of course it wasn't too many detail, but it did still acknowledge that there will be more details and things are going to be delved into a little further with more time. Unfortunately, what took place is that United Airlines was actually responding to individual tweets on Twitter. Now, some people may not think that that is a big deal, but that is very, very, very inappropriate of the company to do such a thing for many reasons. One being that the majority of the tweets that were directed towards our company and directed towards the situation, they were not good. They were negative. People were saying rude things or sarcastic things or trying to make jokes. And the way that our social media team responded to these people was so bad. I can't stress it enough. I'm just going to have to place some of the responses in here just to show you guys just how wrong it was. Because here's one thing: people read messages the way they want to read it. You cannot pick up tone correctly through text. Therefore, responding to people who are saying negative things, they're probably going to think that we're attacking them back, and that's not what we stand for. That's not what we do. And again, companies just don't do that. They do not do that. Be okay to make a statement saying that the higher ups have not had the chance to fully know what's going on yet, but again, establish that we are going to be looking into it and that we acknowledge that there is something going on, and we don't want to promote or be okay with anyone being hurt or upset or anything like that. So even doing that is demonstrating the honesty that is brought up in the PRSA Code of Ethics, because with honesty comes trust, and I feel like that's something that's rather important to make sure that you have with customers, because if your customers don't trust you and they feel like you're lying, then they're simply just not going to want to do business with you any further. On top of that, they're going to tell other people by word of mouth and via social media. So therefore, just the success of the company can go down. That's all of this. I really want you all to make sure you understand the importance of ethical principles within this field, because knowing them, it just helps serve as a guideline for drawing responsible conclusions for actions that can be justified. So for this case, it appears that the company took an attempt to trying to practice Mill's principle of utility, which essentially is trying to find a way to fix a problem that like everyone would be okay with. The problem with that is that various people are not going to be pleased or satisfied the same way. It's kind of like unfair, actually. So responding to many people individually via Twitter was not the best move. But the intention wasn't to do harm. It was to show that we are personable. Unfortunately, that was not executed correctly. I feel that the principle that should have been reached for this situation is, I believe it's called Islam's divine commands. Yes, Islam's divine commands. Basically, because it's an emphasis on justice, human dignity, and truth, which are unconditional duties. I feel like that is very true. As a company, we are to value not only our staff, but our customers. We're supposed to value them as a person, we're supposed to respect them, and we're supposed to value just their safety, because without them, there's no us. So we need to make sure that they have nothing but respect and the best experience. But still relating to this fully, if you have something to write with, really quickly, I want you to take the time to draw out a Potter box with me. So really quickly, a Potter box is basically a model made for making ethical decisions, and it's perfect for working out cases like this, anything that's controversial. It kind of helps you just get out all your information together, and then it allows you to come up with not only deciding if something is unethical or ethical, but it helps you to basically say, where do we go from here? Like, how can we handle this situation? So, here we go. What you do is you draw out an actual box. What you do is you draw out an actual box, like so. So once you have your box, you want to separate it into 4 sections. Your first box, which will be the top left, will be your definition box, or you could put facts. So here, you basically list out everything that you know about the case or the situation, conflict, however you want to address it. You put everything that you know in this box, and you do not leave out anything. It's just important to make sure that you have everything you know, because anything can be taken into consideration. So we basically went over the facts of this conflict earlier, but let's see, some other things. Some crew members needed to be on the flight to get to a transfer, yet there was not enough room because the flight was overbooked. So the flight offered customers $1,000 to volunteer to leave the flight, to basically give up their seat for the staff members, and nobody wanted to give up their seat. So like, this is just stuff that we can put on there. $1,000 compensation, overbooked flight, stuff like that. And once the security asked David Dow to leave and he refused, that's when things got physical. It's important to know that he actually, while getting removed, he ended up hitting his head on an armrest. So that's a really important point, because now we have a customer that is injured And it's the question of, was it our fault or was it his fault? And then many passengers got the footage on camera and then eventually posted it to social media. Let me also make it known that the Chicago Department of Aviation said in a statement that the incident was not in accordance with our standard operating procedure, and the actions of the aviation security officer are obviously not condoned by the department. So there's definitely a disconnect there. There's some miscommunication. Because people are now going to wonder why we as a company are partaking in this type of activity if there was just a source that is above us saying that that's not allowed. So that right there could also form distrust, and this is why we have to address certain things to make sure that everything is handled. And again, honesty and free flow of information are very important, and those are codes in the PRSA Code of Ethics that are really important in the relationship building with consumers and customers, etc. So right below the fact box, which would be the bottom left, you are going to put your values. So for your values, you basically just list out any values that are associated with the conflict, whether it be social, political, legal, professional, etc. And then you decide which of them are sources of conflict. So for this conflict, there are legal values. The men who were involved in removing David Dow, they need to be evaluated because unfortunately he was hurt, and he could file a lawsuit not only against us, but he could file a lawsuit against them too because they were the ones who actually injured him. And then there's also legal questions as to, is it even legal for United Airlines to have the right to remove somebody who paid for a seat? So there's just things like that. Legal and professional. So you're going to move to your right. You're going to move to your right, so the bottom box to the right would be your loyalties. Actually, no. We're going to do principles instead. Principles. These would be your principles. So like we stated earlier, for this situation, the way that United Airlines handled it was more of an attempt at Mill's principle of utility. And as stated, I believe that what we could have done as an approach is Islam's divine commandments. That probably would have been the best way to handle that. So that's what we would put here on the principle side. Now, moving forward, going up, lastly would be your loyalties. Loyalties essentially are just those people or things that we as a company are loyal to, who we owe certain things to, whether it's rights, respect, apologies, stuff like that. So that would be, for example, in this situation, David Dow, his family, those who were in, like, witnessed what happened, the people on the flight, the staff, the company as a whole. Those are the loyalties that we owe. Those are the people that we owe loyalties to. So we would put that in the loyalties box. Now, once your box is complete, you get to make some judgments from all the info that we put together. And then you get to determine whether this is ethical or unethical. As I can imagine, I would believe that we would all say that this conflict is unethical, even though there are ways that it could have been ethical had we have handled this in a different way. So, allow me to explain what else went wrong with this case. Explaining what else went wrong. I have mentioned quite a few times my strong dislike towards the individual responses made on Twitter. And what made the matters worse was that these tweets were made before a statement from our CEO was released. I want you all to sit and think about that for like a couple seconds and think what could go wrong there. Just write it down. Just write your thoughts as to what type of problem can come about if the social media team is responding to things that are more so PR related before the PR team even gets to formulate something to then give to the CEO to clear the air. Just think about it. Just think about it. The statement was released. It was upsetting because our former CEO insinuated that it was our customers' fault for what took place. Please understand that strategic messaging is very, very, very vital. We cannot be insensitive and blame anyone for anything. What makes us look better as a company, and what makes us look ethical, and what makes us look like we have values and morals is if we are to be responsible and simply address the issue and promise to fix it. Because again, at the end of the day, we have an image to uphold and we have money to make. And even though it's not just about the money, in order to continue running, in order to continue being successful, we have to keep our customers, because without them, again, we are nothing. If we don't book flights, we're not going to be able to do anything. We're not going to have anything to stand for. Is that we have people on social media, our people from United Airlines on social media, writing out their own responses to people, each being different. And then the CEO comes out with a statement expressing that the company is unsure of what's going on, but it's going to be looked into. And that's confusing to anyone outside of the company, and it looks dysfunctional. And the free flow of information is lacking because there is no accuracy. To point out that it took 2 more statements from the CEO to properly address the conflict, take responsibility, and apologize. It's not good. It's not good. And at that point, it's almost too late to dig the company out of the grave we ended up in. But now that you all have heard of what PR codes are broken or were broken, you may wonder or have an idea of what issues come from these broken codes. So do me a favor and just take a couple seconds to write out some thoughts, some potential issues that would come from these broken codes, such as there being basically no free flow of information, no honesty, no efficiency. We're not quick. Again, we're not quick with our responses. There's confusion. There's different things being said within the company from 2 different sides. So just give you a couple more seconds to write that down. Then we're going to go into number 1. Distrust is formed. Many people took to social media either questioning what happened or having strong feelings about what happened to David Dow being pulled off of the plane and being injured, and then also the responses given from our CEO. Let's just say that United Airlines was dragged pretty badly on social media. And it's not funny at all, but it just shows that people on social media, like, they don't really have a filter. They don't really care. Like, if they feel strongly about something, they're gonna address it. And that's why it's important to not really respond to stuff like that. If we are to respond, it has to be a whole response to everybody. We can't just pick and choose like who we're going to say things to, because that's just it's just, again, it's not professional, and it kind of looks a little personal when you do it like that. So many memes were made out of us. There was even hoax memes from competitors. I might have to place that in here. It was one with Southwest saying like, we beat the prices, not you. Stuff like that, kind of just implying that our company hits customers, and that's not what we stand for. So stuff like that, we have to try to, just cut that out and nip it in the bud before it escalates to what it did. It's just not a good look for the brand. And also, advocates for David Dow also started a trend and got boycotts going against the company. So this is all because there's a thought that the company is insensitive, and this could have been prevented. Once again, it could have been prevented. Some other issues that the company just was unaware. Being unaware of things, statements are not going to make sense. So, for example, if you think about it, if you don't know what you're talking about, you would probably think that you just shouldn't say anything at all, because then it's going to look worse. That's like me now being the CEO of United Airlines saying, or somebody telling me, oh, there were a bunch of animals on the plane and then they disappeared. If that's all I know and I still decide to make a statement about it, probably not a good move, because we have no idea what took place, what could have happened. When there's no context, you can't speak on it. With statements not making sense, that leads to little disclosure, and that's unfair to the audience. And again, in the PRSA Code of Ethics, we are to be fair to our customers, to our consumers, to our staff, to everybody. We have to be fair to everybody. That's something we owe. We owe loyalty, we owe honesty, we owe respect. Everybody has a right to know what's going on. They have a right to get information, because if they don't, then that's where there's miscommunication, confusion, and then there's just bad things being said, which again, all can be prevented if you just speak on the issue right. I will say that there are issues with protocols. There's a miscommunication there. And for one, we should just not overbook flights. That should be not allowed company-wide. I understand, and I'm sure you guys were told why flights get overbooked, for the sake of people maybe not showing up and there's still extra seats. But again, that's kind of unethical. That's not morally right to do that, because then you're still taking somebody's money, one. And for two, what happens when something like this happens? And then we have to remove somebody from a flight. Like, that's just not a good look. It's not a good look. Flights should not be overbooked. And realistically, no one is going to want to volunteer to leave a seat that they paid for. So this is something that really needs to be looked into and understood and fixed. We are now coming to an end. The message that is trying to be stressed is to please, 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 please control the narrative as best as you can. And this is something that has to be done as a team. If the narrative is controlled, there's not much to worry about. You know, people could say things, but as long as it's not like a negative trend, there's nothing to worry about. So what could have been done to prevent things from spiraling out of control? Well, in the case that David Dow still got removed from the plane and he still got hurt, and people still recorded this on their phone and posted it on social media, the staff on Flight 3411 should have immediately contacted headquarters and notified them of what was happening with every single detail they can, which then they would have also known to watch out and look for this to appear on social media, so they would have been prepared for that. And then there would have been time to formulate a statement once the PR team and the CEO got word of the situation. So the quicker that PR knows what's going on, the quicker that something can be said to diffuse the situation. Even without knowing 100% of facts, a statement still can be released acknowledging that there was a physical situation that took place, and that we're going to reach out to those affected, because safety and respect is our top priority, and we apologize if that were to be violated. That would have been a really good response to just make sure that people know that we are aware and we're going to fix what's going on. That would have been the only thing to post on social media, by the way. There would have been absolutely no responses via Twitter. There would have been no individual saying anything to anyone on Twitter. It would have been one statement for the whole public, and that's it. After reaching out to David Dow, staff, and officers, another statement could be released notifying the public what took place and that we, as United Airlines, take responsibility and deeply apologize for what happened. From this, customers will trust. The trust will not be completely gone because they see that the honesty we are giving. And to further show loyalty, United Airlines could give everyone who was on the flight some type of pension, compensation, just to show our apologies for any traumas caused on the flight, especially to David Dow. That concludes the first part of our 2019 learning module. I hope that you guys all enjoyed, and I hope it wasn't too long. I wanted it to be just relaxed. I wanted us to, even though I'm not physically there, just to show that I'm a pretty cool person too. I'm normal, I'm human. We didn't have to be super formal. I wanted this to be a little conversational. Reason why I pulled out the board, wanted to go a little step by step with the Potter box. Took time just for you guys to reflect and think and write stuff down. So even though I'm not there, I can still be kind of interactive. Either way, I hope you enjoyed, and I'm so excited to just introduce you guys to such a great company, and we are going to do such great things, especially with the training that is being received. We are going to be just fine. Thank you.